In the last episode, we talked about simple ways to deal with overwhelm in your business. So you've done that. So what is next? How do you take what you learned about your overwhelm and how it sneaks into your life and in your business, and then make those changes that are needed to reduce the likelihood of it coming back? If you listen to the last episode, I mentioned this idea of business hushing, or another way to call it is quieting your business. Haven't heard of this? I'm not surprised. So stick around and let's find out what it means and how it can help you design a gentle business. Hey there, I'm your host, Marta Gertson, and welcome to Doing Business Gently, a podcast for women who are ready to think and do business from a place of purpose and intention. If that sounds like you and you've wondered what it means to have a gentle and aligned business, you are in the right place. This is a safe place where we talk about life business integration, and we approach this idea by creating a life first business, one that is aligned to fit you, your values, priorities, personality, and the current season of life you're in. We also talk about how to find business clarity so that you're not constantly second guessing every decision you make in your business, how our faith and business can work together, and importantly, how we can all do this from a habit and a place of rest. So, join me today as we take a few steps forward in dealing with business overwhelm that maybe feels chronic in your business. And let's take a look at why it keeps coming back. This episode is brought to you by the Weekly Reset Routine Mini Workshop. And you've probably heard me talk about this routine before, and I bring it back because it is one of the best tools and the best first steps in designing a gentle business. And as we've talked about in the last couple episodes of overwhelm, this is one of the simplest ways you can start to deal with overwhelm immediately and be able to evaluate your business and what's working, what's not, checking in with your goals, and making sure that you are prepared for the week ahead. This is a mini workshop created for Christian women entrepreneurs who are ready to de stress their weekly business schedule and overwhelm in 30 minutes or less. If you are ready to start your Monday morning feeling prepared and ready to face a new week, then this mini workshop is for you. You're going to learn how a simple weekly routine can help keep you on track, how to plan for and not forget important life and business stuff, and quick ways to slow down, take a deep breath, and prepare your heart and mind for the week ahead. This is a simple routine that can become a healthy habit that's going to help you and your business grow, and it will grow with you no matter what stage of business or life you are in. This mini workshop includes a video and a workbook that's going to walk you through the routine step by step, along with suggestions on how to tailor it and customize it for you and your business. You can start building this healthy habit routine for you and your business at silastudios.co/weekly reset. Years ago, I came across this idea about house hushing from Mike Smith, a well known interior designer and author of some best selling books on decorating and her term cozy minimalism. In her step by step guide towards moving towards a cozy minimalist home, she introduced the idea of house hushing or quieting a room, which she describes as backwards decluttering. It's a simple process of picking one room or one space in your house that does feel overwhelming, or it's not working for your family, or you just need a refresh. And what you do is for 24 hours, you remove everything but the main furniture pieces that are needed in that room. You remove anything that's going to be a distraction. And in that process of removing everything, you are hushing that room. She's also called it a home reset. And here's how she describes it. And there's a link to this article in the show notes so you can read the whole thing because I find it quite fascinating and I've used it myself. The best part is you experience no decision fatigue because you are not making decisions. That's where the magic begins. If you are feeling overwhelmed and lack motivation to declutter, hushing your house is going to jumpstart your journey in a brand new way. Once you hush a room in your house, you can see it with fresh eyes. It's so easy to become house blind to all the visual stuff we see daily. With a hushed and quiet room, you get to experience a sense of peace in a matter of minutes. She goes on to describe that now that you have that room hushed and now you have seen it with fresh eyes, What does that room really need? And you slowly bring back your decor, or you swap out some of the furniture pieces, but you are taking the opportunity to quiet the noise, get clear, reduce the overwhelm, and start building a room or a space that serves you and your family. Years ago, I had to have some major renovation done on part of my house that took up about half of my living room and pretty much my entire dining room due to a lovely leaky roof. Not the world's most fun experience, but it did teach me some great lessons, and one of them was the power of quieting a room. After a couple of weeks of living in basically half of my main living space and not being able to access my dining room at all, I was no longer a fan of renovations. I love the decorating shows and the renovation shows, but after living through it, yeah, I still want to update my house, but I don't like the process. But when it was done, so worth it. It was amazing. The walls were freshly painted. My ceiling no longer leaked. I didn't have to have buckets everywhere because, of course, it was during the rainy season. And it didn't look unsightly. And it literally was just a pleasure to sit there and enjoy how good it looked. I slowly moved back my larger furniture pieces. My dining table went back in. My favorite recliner went back in its spot. And honestly, at that point, I basically stopped. That space in my home had been such a source of overwhelm and angst and stress. To have it quieted and just looking so pristine, it really felt good. I didn't want to clutter it up by just throwing stuff back on the wall without thinking about it, without purpose, without intention. The fact that it felt so calm and so beautiful, it actually took me a few months to start decorating those walls again. You might be wondering why I'm talking about interior decorating tips on a business podcast. Because I think the same principles apply to house hushing or resetting a room or quieting a room applies to our businesses as well. And it's especially true if that overwhelm keeps sneaking back into our businesses and causing problems. So, how do you hush your business? I'm glad you asked. First, overwhelm itself is not a problem. We all deal with it from time to time, and dreaming of a business that never has overwhelm, I believe, is unrealistic. Just how I've talked about hustle is not the problem and toxic hustle is, overwhelm is not the problem per se, if it shows up just once in a while. And the tips in the last episode, you now have the tools and the resources you need to handle that overwhelm in a few minutes right when you need it. Overwhelm in your business becomes a problem when it keeps coming back. When it comes back time and time again, and you don't know how to deal with it and have long term solutions, that's where I believe business hushing or quieting your business can be an invaluable step. I'm going to be reviewing 5 steps here that you can take, but I want to make clear from the very beginning you probably don't need all 5 steps. These are just 5 areas of business that you could consider looking at as becoming the root problems of where your overwhelm keeps coming from. I do believe the first 3 steps are some of the most critical, and sometimes you just need step 1. So I'm going to go through these one by one, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed because you may not need all 5, and you definitely do not need to tackle all 5 at once. I want to make that clear up front. But all of this, when you are reducing the overwhelm, you are moving more towards a gentle business, one that is simple and sustainable. So, step 1 I'm going to share with you is called reducing the noise. Now, I know it's not realistic to empty your business like you would in the house hushing process, but there are some simple things you can do to reduce the noise right away. And that is go on an unsubscribe, unfollow mission. This is one of the first things I do in my mastermind and in my clarity and personal brand coaching with my clients. And I issue them a super simple challenge to go on an unsubscribe, unfollow challenge. And for the next 5 to 7 days, I challenge them to unsubscribe from at least 3 to 5 emails, Facebook groups, unfollow or mute loud profiles that you follow on your social media accounts, And by loud, I mean maybe they post often. Maybe they share things that make you share their results and it kind of makes you feel bad and makes that comparisonitis show up. Or maybe they offer amazing sales on yet one more course or resource that might just be the magic answer you're looking for. The ones, those ones that are hard to resist, mute them or unfollow them. You can always go back and follow them later if you need to. By reducing the noise that is coming at you from so many differing opinions will make a dramatic difference. I know from personal experience, and this is what I hear back from my clients, that the difference in the amount of noise coming at you happens quickly when you go on this unsubscribe, unfollow mission. It feels like you can take a deep breath. You spend a lot less time scrolling through your socials and you spend a lot less time in your email inbox. This one step of reducing the noise can make a dramatic difference in your sense of overwhelm. In fact, it makes such a difference that I usually give myself this mission 2 to 3 times a year because it's so easy to allow more and more noise to creep back in. And when I'm feeling stuck or that sense of overwhelm is growing again and I can tell it's returning, this is a simple step that works quickly. Step number 2: evaluate your budget, your profit and loss, and your accounts. Yep, sorry, we are going there. But now that you've reduced the noise coming at you in all the different various forms that can come at you through email newsletters, email sales notices, ads on Facebook and Instagram, it's time to go a little bit deeper. And this one is going to take a little bit more time, but this is a great time to pull out your budget, look at your profit and loss statements, or look at all the things that are processed through your bank account and take a look at subscriptions. What subscriptions have you signed up for? Subscriptions are things you have to manage. Sometimes they land in your inbox and then you feel behind because you're not keeping up with all the information they're sending at you. Take a look at what subscriptions do you really need? And maybe it's time to go on a different type of unsubscribe mission and start canceling some of those subscriptions. Take a look at your business expenses and services. Beyond those subscriptions, are you using any services that you're not fully utilizing? Are there services that you purchase or you use that maybe they offer similar services and maybe you just need one instead of both? Look at the types of accounts that you feel like you have to keep track of. Do you really need them? Knowing that you are using your business income wisely and that you are stewarding your money well can go a long way in helping you reduce overwhelm by trimming your budget. Plus, there are a couple of added bonuses. You have fewer things to keep track of, fewer things landing in your inbox because you don't need them anymore from these different subscriptions and business services. So when they land in your inbox and they're showing you another promotion you don't need, or they're subscribed to a newsletter of a service you no longer subscribe to, that is going to also help you go on that unsubscribe, unfollow mission and reduce the noise coming at you in your inbox and in your social media. When you take a moment and evaluate your overwhelm, first you took that first step and you reduced the noise coming at you. You realized you needed a little bit more help, so you went back and streamlined your business and reduced some of the services and subscriptions so that your budget doesn't feel so overwhelming and it reduces the noise coming at you even further. If you find that's still not quite enough, then it's time to take it a step further and check your client list. And I'm going to be the first one to admit that this one is harder. We've all had this thought at one time or another, though. I need to let that client go. As a service provider who cares deeply for clients and how they are cared for and supported, this is one of the hardest realizations to come to. It's sometimes one of the hardest things to admit in our businesses. But reality is, it is a part of doing business. It is a part of building a gentle business. So this next step is about cleaning up your client list. And this is going to sound harsh on some of them, but if you have clients that need a lot of help and they're still at that lower rate, probably because they've been with you since the beginning and you really like working with them and so you feel bad about raising their rates. And so they're still at that lower rate compared to new clients coming in at your standard rates. Even with how much you love them and you want to support them, overwhelm, procrastination, and at times even a hint of resentment can creep in. If you have clients that need your help and are dragging you back into services you no longer offer new clients and services you really don't want to do anymore, even for the clients you really like, overwhelm, procrastination, and even a hint of resentment can creep in. And if you have some of those clients that you were excited to work with, but you soon discovered they are just difficult and they cause you undue stress, just seeing their email land in your inbox, ask me how I know, overwhelm, procrastination, and even a hint of resentment can creep back in. So, when you're taking a look at your client list, this is a hard one, and this is not something you jump into lightly. But as I read those, I bet there's at least one or two clients that pop to mind. And when that comes to mind that quickly as I read through that, that's not something to ignore because our clients are the lifeblood of our business. We love to serve them, we love to support them. But if something is out of alignment, if something is not working for you anymore, that is going to cause overwhelm. It is going to cause procrastination. It is going to cause some undue stress. And eventually that is going to need to be dealt with, and preferably sooner than later. But it is a hard step. So don't jump into it lightly and don't jump into it without forethought. I want to mention two more steps to consider. And these are beyond the scope of this podcast, but I know for me and from the women that I coach with, sometimes these are big issues that we need to address and can be a source of overwhelm, especially chronic overwhelm that seems to come back over and over again. One is to evaluate your processes. Now, I am not a productivity expert and I'm not going to dive deep into this one, but if you have a complicated process of onboarding your clients, delivering your services, keeping your accounting updated, planning and executing a marketing plan, these can be serious sources of overwhelm. And this is a big step. So if you need help in this area, please reach out to me and if tell me a bit about what you're going through and I probably have a resource or a tool that I can send you that can help you in this area. And going back to our what we originally started talking about, but that interior design component, your environment plays a bigger role in your stress and overwhelm than you might think. Once I heard a productivity expert and in decorator, she said, visual clutter is stress, and I know that can be a source of overwhelm for me. Taking care of the filing, sorting through the piles, or in my case, notebooks, and simplifying my office or just cleaning up my workspace. And often I've realized I'm using 5 notebooks when I really only need 2, and reducing the number of notebooks I'm writing in and keeping track of thoughts in. These are things you can also do to help you root out those sources of overwhelm and take care of them. The author and lawyer Bob Goff said one time that where you do what you do matters. And that quote has stuck with me for such a long time. Where you do what you do matters. That can be in the virtual space, it can be your home office, it can be wherever you do your work. Where you do what you do matters. And if the way you're setting up your workspace isn't working for you, that is a source of stress and overwhelm and deserves to be looked at so that you can reduce that stress and overwhelm. So, do these 5 steps sound like a lot? Do they sound overwhelming as I talk you through them? Before we go any further, I want you to know you don't need to do it all at once. Start with step 1. Go on that unsubscribe mission. Again, it may end up being all you need for now. If that doesn't help, then you go to step 2 and look at your budget. Look at what you're spending your money on and look at all the noise that is coming at your inbox from things maybe you no longer need. Then that's when you go to step 2. If step 2 has made a difference, but it's still that chronic overwhelm feels like it's still coming back, then it's time to go deeper and look at step 3 and evaluate your client list. Now, step 4 and 5 are optional, but they're just things to consider if you need to go a little bit deeper into this chronic overwhelm. But these first 3 areas, these are the areas most of my clients, and for me personally, find our sources of overwhelm stem from. And again, just to reiterate, you do not need to do all of them at once. And also, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not a one and done project. These are simple steps that you can take one at a time, but it's not meant to increase your overwhelm, but again, help you find those root causes and deal with them once and for all. And it doesn't have to happen all at once, and it may be something you need to revisit a few times a year. When you take that time to evaluate what's going on in your business, you are taking proactive action to make sure those sources of overwhelm aren't trying to make a comeback. Before we wrap up here, I just want to encourage you, if you have any questions about this or there's a source of overwhelm you need help dealing with, reach out to me and let me know. I probably have a resource I can send you. Please feel free to reach out to me as a DM on Instagram. I'd love to share with you some of the resources that have helped me over the years. Thanks for joining me today. In the next episode, we're going to take a deeper look into personal branding and what it is and what it really means to build a strong personal brand. Because a gentle business is built on a strong personal brand. Let's keep learning to create a simple and sustainable business where we can do business gently.